Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Hump Day edition of the Yard, one day closer to college football, kids. And I know we've had some college football, but you know how it is. It just kind of whets the appetite, and you just want to see the Bulldogs on the field. I tell you what's interesting. I've had a lot of conversation this morning. People texting me today. I've decided to get tickets and come on. You should too. I mean, it's the first game of the Jeff Lebby era. I think it's going to be a good run for us with Jeff as the coach. And so let's get out of here, man. I mean, come on. And Dove season doesn't start till Sunday, right? You got no excuse. And not to mention, we only get a handful of these opportunities a year. I mean, honestly, that's one thing Dave Murray does a good job kind of expressing upon people, right? Some years you only get a half dozen home games. Good years you get 7. So think about that for a second. You get 6 to 7. There's 52 weeks in a year. You can spend basically a week at Davis Wade Stadium. That's it. And then the rest of your days, I mean, unless you're coming to the Hump or, Duty Noble, I mean, you're spending it just kind of going through the line, right? It's true. So let's make a commitment to be here. Listen, I know it's not going to be a capacity crowd. People are like, Steve, it's hot. Hydrate. We're not playing the game at 1. Game's going to kick off at 5. We've had some cooler temperatures, in the evening. You need to wear shorts and, I don't know, maybe a lighter shirt. They want you to wear maroon. That's one thing that I've read. They want maroon, encouraging fans to wear maroon every game except for the whiteout against Florida. So that doesn't seem to be a big graphic making the rounds this year, at least on behalf of the university. But, come be a part of it. And we talk about these things all the time, man. Life is short and death is certain, right? And when at the end of your days, and when you stand there and kind of give an accounting of your life, even if it's, mentally, you're not going to sit around and talk about all the Netflix you watched, right? It's going to be about the things you did. And listen, I have been so incredibly blessed in life. I have been. And sometimes I even feel guilty about it. I'm grateful. But the reality of it is this. I'd rather do things than have things. And I have a lot of things. Probably more than I need, to be honest with you. A lot more than I need. But I do not want what I have not got. I can promise you that. There are some accomplishments in life that I would like to have. But not really so much material things, I mean, everybody wants to be celebrated, whether they admit it or not. Everybody does. I want to take some trips. I want to get over to Scotland someday and see the motherland. I want to go out there to Big Sky Country and just watch the stars twinkle over the mountain ranges out there. I want to do those kinds of things, And so when I think about all the things that I've been able to do in life, many of them were not expensive, right? I mean, the things that happen in life sometimes you look at and say, you work hard and you invest in this, but how many times do you experience something that you can't really put a price tag on? Like those days with your kids, those days seeing everybody get all excited and put on their Mississippi State gear. Mom, when are we leaving? Hey, can we stop at a store and get a snack? Dad, I got to pee, And all that seems like such an inconvenience when you're in the middle of it. But then you look back over it and you say, you know what? That was some of the greatest days of my life. So let's cultivate some more great days in our lives. Starkville's a great place, man. I love it here. I do. I suspect I will be here for the duration. That's the plan anyway. I mean, you never know where life's going to take you. But that's what I expect. I expect to be here until it's all said and done. And so I remember being a kid, and I want to speak to you on behalf of your children. And you have these same feelings. But again, when you're in the middle of it, when you're mom and dad, sometimes you forget what it's like to be a kid. And I remember when my dad would come pick us up, and he's like, hey, I got us tickets to go see the Mississippi State play in Jackson. What do you boys think? It was one of the greatest days ever. And not just the game itself. The game was great. But it's like seeing those tickets and saying, I get to go see the Bulldogs play. I get to go see John Bond. I get to go see Don Smith. You kidding me? I go to Humphrey Coliseum and see Chancellor Nichols, Cameron Smoke Burns. And the reason that I remember those things so vividly is because as a child, it meant so much to me to be able to go. And so I share that with you, maybe to implore you a little bit and encourage you. You know what? Even though it's a pain in the you-know-what sometimes, I mean, it is. You get everybody together, and you can't agree on what movie they're going to watch or what music you're going to listen to, and it seems like I just want to go to the game. But one day you're going to look back at all that, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. So give yourself some things to miss. Pack the car, get the kids in there, and let's go watch the Bulldogs play. It's one of the things that I learned when my parents made time for me and included me in what they had going on or did something special. It just meant everything to me. And speaking of that, I sound like I'm in a bit of a nostalgic mood today. I want to brag a little bit. It's a proud dad day. It's a proud dad day. I'm not going to give you all the particulars because she would be embarrassed if I did. And she shouldn't be. But my youngest daughter, Mia, some of you have heard me talk about her on the show. Many of you know her. And one of the things that I tell people all the time, and they think I'm being disingenuous, and they're absolutely wrong. One of the things to me is when I meet somebody, and maybe they've heard of me, but maybe don't know me or my work that well, it always encourages me to work harder. But I love it when I go out there and somebody says, hey, you're Mia Robertson's dad. And I'm glad that that's how I'm known in her circles, right? It's like she's proud to be Steve Robertson's daughter, but she is her own young lady. And I'm so incredibly proud of her. And so she took the LSAT a few months ago. Got a great score, but it wasn't the score she wanted. She was off a few points from what she wanted. She could have got in pretty much any law school in the country. But so we're sitting there texting back and forth in our fam chat on that day. And guys, I'm going to tell you this. She made a higher LSAT score than all of my attorneys. And she's like, nope, I'm going to take it again. I'm going to take it again. I've made a goal for myself, and I'm going to do it. She did the same thing with the ACT. She also graduated from Mississippi State University, summa cum laude, with 2 undergraduate degrees and never made anything less than 100 in a college course. It's kind of like having a 5-star quarterback recruit living in your house, right? Even though she didn't live with me. And so yesterday, before the LSAT scores came out, she starts getting all these messages from all these schools, and everybody's like, hey, we encourage you to apply here. And I'm not talking about, and all due respect, right? I'm not talking about, Central Florida, or Louisiana Lafayette. And listen, nothing against those fine institutions, but you only get one chance to get this thing right. And so she really wants to go somewhere prestigious. And so many of those prestigious schools in the country, have been in contact, shall we say. But set my alarm this morning to get up and do the Bo Bound show. And, of course, we were going to get our score this morning. And my alarm goes off, and I grab the phone, and the wife says, hey, you've already missed the celebration. What a great way to open the day, right? What a great way to open the day. And she got her score. She got the one in her mind she had to have and puts her in the top 2% in the country. And she's a Mississippi State graduate. And one of the things that I love the most about her is her tenacity and her willingness to go out there and work hard and do things. But I'll tell you this, one of the things that made me so proud as a parent is she could have gone anywhere in the country to go to college. And a lot of people say that, but it's true for her. It's true. I can't remember if it was 32 or 33 on the ACT and a 4.0 and all that kind of stuff. But she could have gone anywhere. But there was no recruitment process. None. And it was pretty simple. She goes, hey, Daddy, I'm going to go to Mississippi State. I said, hey, that makes me happy. We can't, because with Audrey, it was a little different. There was a little tug of war, She thought she may want to go here, go there, but she's like, you know what, I want to be Mississippi State. But for me, there was no decision to make. And she goes, you know what, Dad? She said, I've got some big aspirations in life. I got some things that I want to do. And no matter whatever I achieve in life, I want Mississippi State to get some recognition from that. And I remember spoke to Rhonda Keenum when when Mia made her decision and everything, and Rhonda Keenum's like, I'm so grateful and so excited to see what Mississippi State's going to do for Mia Robertson. I goes, I agree, but I'm also more excited to see what Mia Robertson's going to do for Mississippi State. And how about going out winning double-digit NAFL championships in speech and debate at a university that had never had a national champion in speech and debate? So now I know what it's like to have a Heisman winner, and I just wanted to share that with you. I know we talk a lot about some of the stuff that I've done and things like that, and sometimes I think I still suffer with the disease of self, but I am so incredibly proud of her and the recognition that goes along with everything she's accomplished, and how that she loves Mississippi State. And we've never had a Mississippi State educated governor. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, maybe it's her. We never had a female governor. We never had a bulldog. And maybe it'll be her. But no matter what she does, she's amazing. All my children are, and we've had a great few weeks. Our children have had some pretty major accomplishments and things of that nature, but I hope that you are so equally blessed when you think about your own children. And I tell people all the time, and I remember, I was on MPB, I think, and they brought up the topic of legacy. Like, what do you think your legacy is? What do you think your legacy will be? And I don't really know, to be honest with you, but I'll tell you this: the greatest legacy that I could ever leave this world is my children. With all the things that I've accomplished, they have taken all of that and then some and built upon it. And it makes me emotional sometimes to think that my dad, Freddie Robertson, the son of a dairy farmer in Jones County, Mississippi, lived off Augusta Road, just down the road from Jones County Junior College, or Jones College, we call it these days. My dad slept 3 to a bed, man. Him, my Uncle Paul, my Uncle Charlie all slept 3 to a full-size bed. Can you imagine? And he got his associate's degree at Jones, and he came to Mississippi State, got a degree in agricultural economics, a minor in animal husbandry, worked the work study, worked with dairy, and he and my mom lived in marital housing. My dad didn't have a whole lot, not materially, but he had a lot of gumption. He had a lot of drive. And it's amazing to me to think that, hey, we're just 2 generations removed from that. And you see what his descendants are accomplishing, and much of that because of the education that they received at Mississippi State University. All right, let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of the show. And man, I love it. I do. I'm such a huge fan of Bulldog Burger Company. And so when given the opportunity to work with them, I absolutely jumped on it because I want to be associated with winners. Don't you? Right? So let's go dine at Bulldog Burger Company. There's just so much going on in the world these days. You don't want to have any guesswork about where you're going to eat, and go sit down somewhere and enjoy a nice meal. And you can't pick a better place than Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. And I tell you this too, again, integrity in pricing. That matters to me. I work hard for every dollar that I earn. I do. Probably underpaid. So when I go to eat and go have a dining experience, I want to get what I'm paying for. I've gone some places here in the last couple of years, and all of a sudden I get the check and there's like a convenience fee. Well, what am I paying this for? Well, instead of us raising our prices, we just charge you a convenience fee. What's the same thing? It's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Either way, I'm paying for more than I'm getting. And I can't stand it. So what convenience am I paying for? Who is being convenienced by me overpaying? Well, it's not me. Let's just charge it an inconvenience fee or an overcharge fee. You don't get that at Bulldog Burger Company. You get integrity in pricing. A lot of people jack their prices up and then gave you less post-COVID. That's just not the case at Bulldog Burger Company. Same affordable pricing, same substantial portion. I respect it, man, and I want to do business with people that do business with integrity. So not only are you getting a great meal at a great price and a great atmosphere, you're getting a great experience by people who have done things the right way. That is important to me. I don't know how you feel. That's important to me. I like to do business with people that do business the right way. and they put their customers first. And that's the case at Bulldog Burger Company. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. Get that chocolate shake to go. Make the whole thing a dining experience, not just a night out. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's spend some time talking about Eastern Kentucky. Now, if you want to learn more about Eastern Kentucky, you know what you can do? You can go over to genespage.com for free, and you can read everything that Coach Walt Wells had to say about Mississippi State. Of course, you got a couple players that talked about it. And so, guys, we had 3 stories up before 9 a.m. today. How about that? Were you aware of that? While you were sleeping, we're getting things done. And so I also kind of touched yesterday, too, wrote a free article, too, about, some long-term series for us are being suspended or ending this year. We're not playing Alabama, we're not playing Auburn, LSU, Kentucky. Those 4 teams have been half of our SEC schedule now since 1992, and they're no more. We're not playing them this year. We'll rotate back around, but mention that too. But let's talk Eastern Kentucky. There's a lot going on with this team. Now, they weren't great last year, and we talked about it a little bit earlier this week. They went 5-6 last year, but let's take a quick review, I guess we'll do, of the schedule last year. Just kind of talk about, hey, this is where we are. This is kind of how things work. But yeah, there's a little disappointment up there. I mean, you talk to, you kind of get a sense that they're not especially happy up there. And I guess if you're an FCS program, you got to go play some games you're going to lose to get a check to fund your program. And so playing an SEC team is a big deal for them. But yeah, it's been. Hey, Bulldog fans, Steve here. I'm a big proponent of saving money. I like to do it for you here on this show. Got another great opportunity for you. And here's the thing, too. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go through a lot of red tape and BS and all that kind of stuff just to save a few bucks. It's got to be convenient. That's the great thing about Mint Mobile. They talk about, hey, you can get wireless for $15 a month, and I thought, there's no way. It's just too good to be true. So I called them on it. Turns out it really is that simple. You can get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process might actually be the time it takes you to get off hold with your current provider. It's incredible. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/boneyard. There you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are just $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered to the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you know what? You can even keep your old phone number, along with all your existing contacts. Find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/boneyard. That's mintmobile.com/boneyard. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/boneyard. $45 upfront payment required. Of course, that works out to exactly $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for more detail. Hey fans, if you know me, you know I'm a dog person. I love them. I've got 5 of them. You've heard them on the show before. How about that? And so when things come up involving dogs, I'm always very acutely aware of it. And our friend actress Katherine Heigl kind of discovered there's a lot of dogs out there suffering with some health issues. And she saved over 16,000 dogs through her foundation. Says she's seen more and more issues with dogs' joints, odors, and health than ever before. After doing a ton of research, she feels there's one place we can look to support any dog's health. It's their food. So she decided to create something she could actually feel good about feeding her own dogs. It's called Superfood Complete. Superfood Complete is made with over 30 of the healthiest ingredients in the world, including several superfoods vital to your dog's health. Badlands Ranch also supports the Jason Debus Heigl Foundation, which has helped rescue thousands of dogs and place them in loving homes. How great is that? So what's interesting is they sent me some sample products. Guys, I use it basically as a supplement, just to kind of see how they'd like it. they would leave their regular food for the superfood complete. It's crazy. They absolutely love it. So go to badlandsranch.com/boneyard, and you can order right now and get up to 50% off your regular price order with a 90-day money-back guarantee. They're putting their money where their mouth is. If you want your dog to experience all these incredible things, go to badlandsranch.com/boneyard. You'll be glad you did. It's been a difficult stretch for them, I guess. So let's kind of look back last year. Again, 5-6 last year. Of course, they get blown out by Cincinnati on the road against the Bearcats to open the season, 66-13. Of course, they had the tussle with Kentucky, played 4 quarters, but just couldn't finish the deal, lose that game. They get Western Carolina to come to Richmond, Kentucky. That's the home of the Colonels, Roy Kidd Stadium. They lose that game by a field goal. So it's an 0-3 start, and you're already chasing the season. Now, you expected to lose those first 2 games, but you really needed to bounce back and beat the Catamounts, but you didn't. The next week, they get a ranked SEMO team to come in there out of Cape Girardeau. Shout out to those folks. And Southeast Missouri State is ranked 16th, and you know what? It's EKU winning the game by a field goal. So first win of the year, makes them 1-3. And then they rattle off a couple of weeks. Things get pretty good. They come down to Florence, Alabama, take on the Lions. They win that game by 10. Tarleton State had a great year last year. And your former offensive line coach at Mississippi State, Mason Miller, was the OC now. He was the OC at Tarleton State. He's the offensive line coach now at Baylor. But he goes to Tarleton State, and one of the only games they lose is to EKU in double overtime. So big wins. So 3 straight. So you open up on a 3-game losing streak. You win 3 in a row. All those games tightly contested. You start thinking, okay, maybe we've righted the ship. The next week they go to Bowling Springs, North Carolina. They lose to Gardner-Webb by a field goal. 3-4 now. They bounce back on the road at St. George, Utah, and they beat Utah Tech. Another tied game, 34-30. And now you're 500 with 3 to play. They go to Austin Peay. They lose by a field goal. And then they go to Central Arkansas and lose by a field goal. And then they win the final game of the year against Stephen F. Austin at home on Senior Day, 36-24. But they end the year 5-6. But again, outside of those first couple of ball games, especially that first one, they were in the games. And that tells me it's well coached. It tells me they have good culture there at Eastern Kentucky. Now, they also got 22 less scholarships. It's a different brand of talent. But you can tell, they're not scared. They talked about confidence. Now, back in 2022, they go 7-5. Go back the year before, 7-4. Pretty good year, I guess, in many respects. They actually got the chance to play in a bowl game. Didn't make the playoffs, but got a chance to do that. Go back to 2020. Not that any of us really want to. They go 3-6 that year. I don't know if you can judge anybody by that. And 2019, 7-5. And so they've been a fairly mediocre team under Coach Wells. But he said some things. A former Kentucky assistant. He's played at Mississippi State before. He kind of understands the cowbells. But it's interesting. It's well, how are you planning to handle the cowbells? Well, we got a speaker like 5 feet behind the quarterback, and he kind of moves with him, to kind of improve communication because hand signals are very important. But it's so interesting. Like I read people say, I think they're ready for the cowbells. Guys, nobody is ready for the cowbells. Nobody. No first-team opponent or first-time opponent is ready for the cowbells. They think they're ready for the cowbells, but you and I both know they're not. You cannot replicate the cacophony of cowbells that comes to Davis Wade Stadium. Now, playing at home, always important. There's been some years that we have been outstanding at home, and other years maybe not so much. But, to play an FCS opponent, we've only lost one FCS game in our history, or 1AA, whatever they were calling it. They didn't even begin that until 1978. The long lost to Maine. First time I ever sat in the suites. And I hadn't been back. I guess that's not true. I have been back. But But nevertheless, I guess I saw the Tennessee game. We beat Tennessee when I was in the suites. But understand, this is a game that we're expected to win handily. Do we cover? I don't know. I don't know. But I expect to win with some comfortability, right? Now, looking at the at statistics here, and there's a lot of things that have changed, right? A lot of things have changed because of the transfer portal. A lot of things have changed on the roster, and they go out last year and worked the portal themselves a little bit. And that's an important aspect of this thing too. It's like, and you got to wonder to like who is transferring to Eastern Kentucky. I mean, I don't think it's a lot of people's dream. I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but unless you kind of grow up in that city or you're the child of an alum, you probably have never really considered going to Eastern Kentucky. But you get some guys sometimes too that maybe they were Power 4 guys and just couldn't get it together, and maybe found out that they maybe weren't an SEC talent. And so like, hey, you only get a short time in life to play sports according to the guy at the Boneyard. So I'm going to transfer out of here and I'm going to go play. I'm going to go somewhere I can play. I want to transfer to a level that I can get on the field. Now, an interesting addition for them is quarterback Matt Morrissey. No, not from the Smiths. Some of you will get that. Some of you won't. But Matt Morrissey was the starting quarterback last year on a terrible Western Illinois Leathernecks team. They didn't win a game. He played in all 11 games. They threw 210 passes last year. He threw 207 of them, if that just tells you anything. Began his career at Trinity Valley Community College, went to Northern Iowa, then to Western Illinois, and now at Eastern Kentucky. So apparently he likes the geographical schools. But, he is a well-traveled guy, to say the least. But quarterback rating last year of 119.49, completed 61% of his passes, threw for 2,014 yards, 13 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. So this is a guy that's played a lot of football. And he's not going to be a guy that I think is intimidated. Now, when I go back and think about, hey, this atmosphere is unlike anything that most people have ever seen. And I don't care what anybody tells you. Until you get here, you don't really know, right? And so you start thinking, too, about, last year. This environment can swallow you whole. And how many times have you seen it? Like all of a sudden the team gets their opponents on the rope and then the crowd kind of takes over and kind of wheels it along. But, kind of quickly looking back at Western Illinois' schedule last year, and again, they go 0-11. And can you imagine how fun that was? Like, oh my gosh, I got to get them to practice again today, and we've lost 9 games. But like looking at their schedule, probably the biggest team they play last year is New Mexico State. And so there's a connection there, obviously, right? Because Mississippi State, goes out and brings in, some people with connections out there. And so, we'll probably have some film that we can watch that we've got, some inside information on. But I don't think it's going to matter. But this is a big, physical young man. We do expect them to play 2 quarterbacks. I don't know if you guys have kept up with that at all. But Cameron Hergott was a guy that didn't play a whole lot last year. He did appear, I guess, in some games. And he is more of a dual-threat quarterback type of guy, and they believe that maybe he is their future. He is a redshirt freshman. He was a redshirt freshman last year, pardon me. Maybe that's right. But anyway, he is the change of pace quarterback, and so we're expected to see him, and then we'll kind of see how things go. And defensively, these guys were not great last year. They did go out and kind of get some guys out of the portal to maybe help them on the defensive side, especially in the secondary. And we'll see how things kind of go from here. But, the bottom line is this, is Mississippi State is playing against an FCS opponent. And we've played some pretty good FCS opponents over the years, and we've won those games. Now, this is a team that's not expected to be great, but they were picked like 4th in their league. But I don't think they're going to show up here and be intimidated. And I think this is a team that will probably do pretty well in their league. They did lose Parker McKinney, of course, who was considered by many to be the greatest quarterback in school history. Threw for over 3,000 yards last year. So he's gone. But, I expect State to win the game. I don't think that this is a game that it may not be an offensive masterpiece for State. And I think it's important for all of us to kind of accept that right now. You know, Jeff Lebby is a great offensive coach, and your offense is going to get more cohesive as the year goes along. It's because of the fact the guys are going to get a little more comfortable with what they do. It's one thing to do it in practice. And you also kind of learn how teams are going to defend you, and you kind of make some alterations, and you kind of move some guys around, kind of figure out what works best for a unit. So I don't expect to go out there and just be clicking on all cylinders. Now, if we do, I'm going to be thrilled. But, yeah, I think we're going to miss some ball placement stuff. I think we're going to miss some open receivers at times. I think we're going to miss some tackles. I mean, there are always tackling issues in week one, and maybe it's a good thing that we're playing an FCS opponent, so that doesn't kind of come in to get us. But the reality of it is that I think our fans need to be patient. They expect us to win. But if we don't go out there and put up 70 points, because I certainly don't expect that, it's going to be okay. I remember last year, the Southeastern game, we won that game handily, but a lot of people kind of came away a little bit unfulfilled. It's like, I'm just not sure about this offense. I wasn't sure about it either. But I thought, hey, it's one game. It's first game with a new offensive system. And so I think rather than us make any parallels and say, well, this is just like last year. No, it's not just like last year. It's a brand new staff. It's basically a 50% flip of the roster. But, could it be a tussle for a quarter? I would love to come out and, score on our first 3 possessions and then everybody be able to relax and enjoy the ball game. I would love that. Now, of course, like last year, we win that ball game going away. But we had to kick a field goal in the first quarter. It's a 3-0 game after the first quarter. And then you get to the half, and it's 20-7. So second quarter was decent for us to put up 17 points. And then from there, it was all Bulldogs, and we called off the Dogs late. You win 48-7. But let's be honest about it. The first half left a lot to be desired, and especially that first quarter. And it's so, there's so many people out there, and I'm not judging. I'm just kind of calling it for how I see it. There are some people out there, they're just waiting for the excuse, right? It's like, I don't want to make this emotional investment in this team. And you saw some people last year in the very first quarter of the very first game of the year just said, you know what? It's not going to work out. And ultimately, they were proven to be correct. That doesn't mean we should listen to their advice, because some of those same people were pretty excited in the first half of that Arizona game. We didn't put those guys away. It ended up being an incredible finish, something we'll never forget. And also the only time in school history that we've, since the Power 5 mandate, that we sweep a 2-game series against a Power 5 opponent. And again, I guess we're calling it P4 this year. But after that, it's like, hey, we're 2-0. And we've won both of these games, and we didn't look great in either. But maybe we'll be okay. And then LSU just absolutely just crushes us. And you're thinking, oh, well, this is going to be how it's going to be. And then we think, okay, maybe we'll go to Columbia, South Carolina and win, and we should have. That's what cost you the ball game right there. Losing to South Carolina. So you go back in hindsight, and again, that Western Michigan game was very, very competitive. It shouldn't have been, but it took a huge toll on Mississippi State. Woody Marks gets banged up, gets a big high ankle sprain. Of course, Will Rogers done for about a month, and then we find a way to win at Arkansas. And it's so interesting, too. There's some people who are like, but Steve, had they not called that illegal procedure penalty, we lose the ball game. Yeah, had they not called that phantom block in the back penalty, we win this game as well. So we had a touchdown called back by a penalty, as did they. But the bottom line in the record books, it says 7-3. And I walked out of there thinking, I'm just so glad that we won this game. If we can just string this thing along until Will gets healthy, we'll be okay. And, of course, then we go to Auburn, and offensively we're not good. Not good. And then Kentucky, of course, comes into Starkville and just, makes us look ridiculous. It's really about us, right? I mean, you start thinking about offensively how bad things were. And then needed to win those last two, and we did, and we beat Southern Miss. But again, you go back, again, there were some hints in the early stages that offensively we were not where we needed to be. And right when it felt like we were kind of getting some things figured out, Will gets hurt. And so you never know what the season is going to show. But just be prepared. It is simply human nature. Brand new staff, brand new offense, 10 of 11 players on your first team offense are transfers. And so it's going to take a little while for them to get their feet under them. Now, again, if they come out like gangbusters in that first quarter, I think everybody will be will feel great. But we can't go out there and just be so anemic offensively early, because we've learned, even if we put it together in the second half, and all those points count, but we really need to get off to a good start. We really need to get off to a good start. And I think there are a lot of fence sitters out there, and I get it. We talk about that among ourselves regularly. And you think about everything this fan base has been through in the last 3 years. It's a ton. And it's not just, it's not just all the tragedy. But, you think about, hey, the transfer portal and immediate eligibility and the NIL, it's like every time I turn around, where is the sport that I love? Where's the sport that I grew up with? And not that I'm going to sit here and tell somebody, hey, get off of my lawn type thing. But there is a lot of fan fatigue, and not just within our fan base, but around the country. And then when you throw in the fact that, we lose Sam Westmoreland and you lose Coach Leach, and, then, you bring in, you elevate Arnett because you felt like that was the only move you could make at the time. And everybody was pulling for him. There were some people that said, I don't think it's going to work out, but everybody was pulling for Zach Arnett until they weren't. I think we all saw it for what it is, and that's the thing too. You got people on the other side of this. Hey, no, we're not going to make a coaching change. And I remember that week, the Tuesday before the A&M game, I got a phone call Tuesday evening and said, hey, Zach's not going to be back next year. And I said, well, what if we get embarrassed this weekend by a third-team quarterback on the road at A&M? Do we let him finish the year? I said, well, all bets are off. And so I get off the phone, call Mike Nemeth, Dave Murray, good stories ready to go, just in case something happens this week. And ultimately it happened that Monday. But it's so interesting to look back in hindsight, because this time last year, we were hopeful. I was hopeful. With the roster we had returning, I think everybody said, hey, we'll be a solid bowl team. And you know what? If we win a game or two that we're not expected to, got a chance to have a really good year, go back to a Florida bowl game, make things interesting. I mean, and listen, let's just kind of take it, like, if knowing what we know now, take that out of the equation. But looking back at last year, you're thinking, hey, yeah, we'll beat Southeastern. We'll beat Arizona. We beat them at their place pretty significantly. We'll beat them here. Maybe not going to get LSU, but we should have beat South Carolina. I think we all felt that way. They have a losing record. It's a 3-1. Not going to beat Bama. Makes you 3-2. You beat Western Michigan 4. Beat Arkansas. We expect to do that 5. We had to go to Auburn, and we thought, as bad as they are offensively, we got a chance, and that could have been 6. Kentucky's coming here. It'd been forever since Kentucky won here. We expected to win that game. I've given you 7. You got to go to A&M. You never know what's going to expect out there. But, hey, maybe it's a loss. And then you beat Southern Miss. And then, the Egg Bowl is always a toss-up, and the game was played here. There was reasons for optimism last year. It just didn't work out for us. And the schedule was actually pretty favorable. We just didn't take advantage of it. And so this year it's a much more daunting schedule. But we're in pretty much the same situation we were in, except for now we have an offensive-minded coach. And when you look historically, at least in the modern day of college football, we've been at our best with an offensive-minded coach. Jackie Sherrill, kind of an outlier, but Jackie was a guy too that understood about offensive football. Even though we didn't always have great offenses in the Jackie Sherrill era, there were some times we were very prolific. But the reality of it is, in the modern day of college football, you've got to have an athletic quarterback, and you've got to have an offensive play caller that can create mismatches schematically. We have that. Now we just got to go execute. We got to go put things on the field. We got to go show recruits and show fans that, hey, you know what, things are going to be better. And so, again, I'll make my plea again. If you're on the fence about coming to the game this weekend, please come. Please come. We need you here. We do. And I think your players and coaches certainly deserve it. And you do too. You deserve a chance to get up here and come celebrate live with us at Davis Wade Stadium. It is now time for today's Top 10 list, as always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Be sure and let me give you his phone number right now, 601-500-2344, 601-500-2344. Text or call Blair today about your mortgage needs. Maybe you're buying a home for the first time and you don't even know where to begin. Well, then trust your business into someone with the expertise of 23 years of experience. Top 1% close ratio in the country back-to-back-to-back years. And, the best thing you can do, get pre-qualified, right? You want to get your real estate agent super motivated, and we have some great ones in the Mississippi State family. You be sure to get that pre-qualification letter so you don't shop out of your means. Right? You go fall in love with a house you can't afford, and then everything else feels like a disappointment. Let's save yourself some time and trouble, right? Get pre-qualified. And maybe you're looking for that game day condo. Maybe more affordable than you think. Could be your future retirement home. Get with Blair, work through your options. He can construct some loans in a way that they meet your needs and pass the muster of underwriting. That's closewithblair.com. Okay, so our friend Richard Willis, longtime dedicated listener to the show, former musician in his own right. He cut an album. He is my friend. I love Richard. Richard is always around during baseball season, hangs out with our buddy Chad Dacus out at the One Tortilla Grill. Go enjoy it for yourself. But Richard was inspired by the Motley Crue cover list. And it's like, hey, now that you've done Motley, you got to do Kiss. Well, here we are. You may not know that some of the great songs from Kiss are actually covers. So here we go. Now, I don't know if this one's on Spotify, so Roy may have to call an audible. We did it with the Motley list, too. I guess some songs lose their licensing after a while, and they come back or whatever. But Kiss covered a great Ramones track called Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio? It's pretty apropos these days, because unless you listen to Sirius XM Octane or Hair Nation on Sirius, there's not a lot of rock and roll radio out there. And we must band together as a people to stop the spread of country and western music. We must. We must. Especially this bro country thing. And I know some of you like it. I get it. But if it's got a bass track to it, it's not a real country song. When I think of country, I think of George Strait. I think of Waylon Jennings. But nevertheless, great cover from Kiss. Number 9, It's My Life. Are you familiar with this one? Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. But It's My Life was originally written by Wendy O. Williams, the former incredible lead singer of the Plasmatics under the punk band. And so here you get Kiss kind of working up through the East Coast punk scene, I guess, in some respects. I know the Plasmatics spent some time on the West Coast too, but a lot of CBGB influence here. Number 8, a very odd cover. I dig it. And you probably know the original by the Crystals. And it was re-recorded by Kiss. And they changed it, of course. The title for the Crystals track was Then He Kissed Me. Well, Gene Simmons sings this one, and it's Then She Kissed Me. And again, kind of interesting song selection by Kiss, the greatest rock band of the 70s. Number 7, great track here called Thief in the Night. Also a Wendy O. Williams Plasmatic song. I think she actually recorded this after she left the Plasmatics. But Wendy O. Williams is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. There was nothing she wouldn't do on stage. She was absolutely off the chain, as the kids used to say. All those kids now are middle-aged. But interesting track here, Thief in the Night. Think you'll dig that one too. Number 6, Any Way You Want It. No, it's not the Journey song. It's the Dave Clark 5. Again, a weird song selection, but I kind of dig the way that the arrangement was kind of modernized at the time. Of course, this comes out in 77, so things were a little bit different back then. If you have followed Gene Simmons' career, he'll tell you the Dave Clark 5 was an influence on him kind of growing up, in New York, listening to the record player and things like that. His mom was a Dave Clark 5 fan, and so they record this track. Number 5, Another interesting song choice here. Bobby Rydell recorded this, I guess, in the 50s, maybe. It's Kissin' Time. Well, Kiss covered it in 1974. And again, when you hear it, it's like, hey, it's somewhat true to the original, but it's uniquely Kiss too. I think you'll dig it. But again, a song that maybe you're surprised, and it may be a little bit filler in some respects. It wasn't a hit by any stretch, but the rest of these tracks were. Number 4, one of my favorite Kiss songs. And it was originally written by Bonnie Tyler. You know Bonnie. You know Bonnie, Total Eclipse of the Heart. You thought she just kind of came out of nowhere. No, Bonnie had a catalog before that. And Kiss covered Hide Your Heart. Absolutely loved what they've done on that. The instrumentation is great. That's during the Bruce Kulick years. I think Paul's vocal on this is great too. So Hide Your Heart at number 4. Number 3, a song where Ace Frehley is the vocalist, covering the Rolling Stones, man. It's 2000 Man. I think Ace does a great job on this. Some of the Ace vocal songs are a little bit dicey. He's not a great singer. Of course, when he does his own stuff, I went and saw him in Tupelo with Alice Cooper. A bunch of you were there. It's a great show, front row. And right after Ace played the Shock Me solo, he handed me his guitar pick. I'm wearing my Ace Frehley shirt at the time. I appreciate it, Space Ace, more than you know. I first met him at Rocklahoma a few years ago. Thanks, Mark. Walking out there on the casino floor, and him and Eddie Trunk are there. And, of course, I'd met Eddie earlier in the day. And Ace is not a really tall guy. But I've had some people tell me in the past that he was not really approachable. He was nice with me. He really was. And you can blame Ace Frehley for all of this, because Ace Frehley was my first rock hero, without any question. Space Ace was the guy. That's what really got me in. I was like, you know what? These guys are different. And then the more people told me, you can't listen to them, that's wrong, I thought, you know what? I'm going to listen to it. The rebellious spirit in me was kind of stirred up when people would say, you can't listen to Kiss. And I remember my Uncle Warren would be listening to radio. Of course, he was a guitar player in a southern rock band called Phoenix. And he would call me in his room every time Kiss came on the radio. Hey, here's your guys. Here's your guys. Here's your guys. He wasn't a big Kiss fan, but I knew that I was. So I got to hear Kiss on the radio. Love him for that. He just celebrated a birthday, too. Number 2, another Ace Frehley cover from the Ace Frehley solo album. You know, Kiss put out 4 solo albums. Everybody had one. And it's New York Groove. And a lot of people think that it's an Ace original. It's not. It's not an Ace original, but we wanted to include it. You know, it's a cover because I think Ace kind of made it a little more famous. But number 1 for me, and of course this is all after the original members have gone outside of Paul and Gene. We've talked about this on the show before. It's a Russ Ballard song. Argent covered this, and of course Petra has covered this. Petra kind of made it their own, the Christian rock band Petra. And it's God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey on that soundtrack. And it is amazing because you can put your faith in a loud guitar. Because God gave rock and roll to you. I love it. I've loved it from the very first time that I heard it. The video is great. And again, I love the Bill and Ted movies. The first 2 are great. 3 was pretty good too. Wasn't great. But I love those first 2. I may even like Bogus Journey. I don't know if it's fair. But maybe a little more than Excellent Adventure. And the newness of Bill and Ted, kind of drove the first one because it was so incredibly unrealistic. And it was just a fun movie. Drama at the Circle K. But my kids grew up on that too. Maybe that's why they're such high achievers. But nevertheless, that's your top 10 list for today. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. And we may just do them. You may be like Richard's like, Richard jumped to the top of the list because Richard's like, hey, you just did this. You got to do Kiss. And so it was great. And anytime we can talk about Kiss, because you wanted the best, you got the best. Right here in the Boneyard. We love Kiss. We love kissing. We like seeing it. It's just part of the deal, part of the great human romantic experience. I'm not really against PDA, to be honest with you. I know some people are. It's like, hey, go get a room. I think I might. Do you care to join us? That kind of stuff, it is what it is. But anyway, I love the top 10 list, and thanks so much for your support of it. Lo, these many years, over 4 years and going, and still finding cool stuff to talk about, right? So you can find our list on Twitter, and I retweet them, but follow Roy at Dogmatic67, DAWGMATIC67, and you can find our great list on Spotify under that same name. And I'll share this with you too. I think it's important too, because I've had some people ask me about this. Guys, we don't monetize that content. Like, we don't get paid anything for Roy to put that on Spotify. He does that as a service for all of you. And as he first contacted me, and first I was like, I don't want to mess with any of that stuff. He's like, I'll do it for you. And now Roy's done this, and sometimes he gets a day or two behind, but we get him out there for you. But we don't, I don't have to do the top 10 list. I don't have to do the Boneyard. But, well, we do make a few coins on the Boneyard. We don't make any money on the top 10 list. And so Roy does that out of the goodness of his heart to support the show. Roy has become my friend. He's your friend, too. We ride in Fort Worth, I guess, and some lady asked to take a picture with him. Big Boneyard listener. She's like, I got to get a picture with Roy. And so I think that's the only payment Roy needs is fame. You don't need a fortune, Roy. You can work for it. It's the fame that comes along with being the keeper of the list. You got to take what you can get. But I am very grateful to Roy, and his wife Missy, of course, also starts high school this year, which has kind of got us all freaked out a little bit, because I know how you high school kids can be. But she's got a good head on her shoulders. We wish her the best. And I think in time we'll be welcoming her to Mississippi State as a student. And maybe you and your family will be so richly blessed that your descendants come to Mississippi State. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I love Campus Bookmart. You will do the best selection of Mississippi State merchandise in the known universe. And here's the reality of that aspect of it, right? A lot of people out there that make the claim. They can back it up. So whenever you're looking to update your Mississippi State attire, looking to find something for the fan cave, looking for a housewarming gift, a graduation gift, there's a lot of great things that you can get there that are uniquely Starkville and uniquely Mississippi State. Don't go to Amazon, and God forbid, don't go to eBay. Go to campusbookmart.net. And to give you some incentive, we'll give you a phrase that pays, and it's BSR. It stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75 is absolutely incomplete. I think one of the things that makes our fan base so unique is that we love Starkville, and even if we can't get back to Starkville regularly, we want to support Starkville businesses. And I'm going to encourage you to do that. Online shopping through campusbookmart.net. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the NFL stuff, and we had to revise our list. Mike got that thing together, and there was some late cuts last night. And yesterday evening, it's the 53-man rosters have been released. Then there may be some adjustments between now and game day. There's going to be some guys, too, that got cut that'll be signed to practice squad type things. So we'll do our best to kind of keep up with that. But, a lot of guys for sure. And not a lot of surprises, I guess, with the Bulldog veterans. Of course, Danico Autry is back for his 11th year in the NFL. Did you see that coming? I mean, honestly. He had kind of an average career at Mississippi State. There were, of course, he was a highly touted recruit, and everybody felt like he would be an NFL guy. 11 years. Logan Cook, who has the highest net punting average in the history of the NFL, in year 7, still with the Jacksonville Jaguars. From my hometown, Columbia, Mississippi. Yes, indeed. Charles Cross now in year 3 with the Seattle Seahawks. Jaden Crumedy, unless that he's been waived today. I didn't go back and double-check this, but it looks like he's made the roster with the Panthers. Martin Emerson now in his 3rd year with the Browns. Emmanuel Forbes, of course, back with the Commanders. Had some ups and downs last year. Hope it all works out for him. Willie Gay leaves the Chiefs, signs a free agent deal with the Saints. Now in year 5. J.T. Gray, another guy, I remember he was out in Arizona, if memory serves me correct. He was out in Arizona. And a lot of people thought he was going to go to Arizona. Moves back to Mississippi. Ends up coming to Mississippi State. Had a really good career at Mississippi State. And has kind of made a name for himself as kind of a special teams demon. and New Orleans. And back again, they signed him to a new deal, I guess maybe this year, last year, I can't remember which. But really happy for him. Elgton Jenkins, of course, still with the Packers. Signed a big-time contract, year 6. I remember going to Elgton Jenkins' house in Clarksdale, Mississippi to take his picture to put on Gene's page. I remember how nervous he was. I interviewed him, got his picture. His mom came out and took a picture of him being interviewed. First time he'd ever been interviewed. And now you look, he's a 6-year vet and one of the highest-rated offensive linemen in the National Football League. Chris Jones in year 9, has it really been that long? It has been. And, of course, Chris got a couple rings now. A lot of people wonder if he's going to be State's first NFL Hall of Famer. I think Fletcher Cox might get it done. But if he doesn't, Chris Jones will. Dak Prescott in year 9, and doesn't it make you feel old? Somebody just yesterday, you were going and buying your kid a Dak Prescott jersey, you won for yourself. The Cowboys need a good year this year. They're kind of all in to win this year. They need to. DCAM, of course, makes a team with the Raiders. Extremely happy for him. Really nice young man. You guys never really got a chance to know him the way you probably should. He didn't get a lot of media opportunities, a little bit shy in front of the camera at times, but an outstanding young man. Wish him the best. Jeffrey Simmons, of course, year 6 with the Titans. And it's hard to believe this Darius Slay now, a dozen years in the league. You start beginning to wonder this about Slay, too. To play a dozen years. I mean, does he play his way into the Hall of Fame? He's won a championship, but you start working through this and you start looking at the numbers. And in fact, it's hard to believe that he's been in the league a dozen years. He's the guy that's the current active leader for years of NFL experience among Mississippi State alums. Preston Smith, 10 years. I remember, I believe Stevenson High School out of Stone Mountain, Georgia, and he had all these guys out there, and I was like, this kid is much better than a 2-star. And they're like, well, we've already rated so many kids there. There's only so many stars to go around. And now Preston Smith in his 10th NFL season. It's crazy, man. It's nuts. Montez Sweat now with the Bears. Excited for him. And again, the anomaly last year of leading the Commanders, and the Bears in sacks. He led 2 teams in sacks in the same year, mid-year trade. Eager to see what he can do this year. Bookie Watson makes the roster with the Browns. Thrilled for him. I think he'll stick for a bit. Tyra Sweet, of course, back for another year with the Cowboys. There was a lot of discussion late that he may get waived. He ends up making the team. And, of course, Cameron Young back with the Seahawks for 2 years, too. So a lot of people that we can be excited about here. And there's some other guys that were late cuts that will end up on a practice squad thing. But it's so incredible to think about. We talk about the impact, right, of coaches and about branding. And we get so caught up in the minutia. The number one thing that helps Mississippi State establish a good brand is winning. The number 2 thing is to see your football alums go on to chase their NFL dreams and then have success. You can say, hey, look at all these players that we have in the NFL. It's pretty cool, though, right? Because we have branding every Sunday. It's like, hey, we win a game on Saturday, and then look at how great our players are doing on Sunday. Guys that came to Mississippi State, that could be you. And so we get caught up sometimes in the minutia of everything. And sometimes we lose sight of what really matters. That's winning football games, producing college graduates that excel at their chosen vocation. And for many of them, that's professional football. And it's every young person's dream to have the opportunity to play pro sports. It's why athletes train as hard as they do. They want to go out there and perform at a high level and continue to play as long as they can. And so very, very significant, very significant. And again, we have so much to be proud of here at Mississippi State. And again, you look back at Dan Mullen. How many of those guys, let's just, we're real quickly here, kind of look back here and just see, how many of those guys are Mullen recruits? Yeah, let that sink in for a second. We start talking about all of that stuff. Autry, of course, Mullen, Cook. Cross was not. That was a Jim Moorhead recruit. Crumity was kind of a crossover guy, I guess. Martin Emerson, of course. You start running the numbers here and you kind of begin to realize, we had a good run of not only recruiting but developing and producing professional talents at Mississippi State. Got to get back to that, right? We got to get back, and of course, the football's changed a little bit. People aren't as patient with developmental guys these days because, you can process a guy into the portal and come right back out and get somebody else with a little more experience, perhaps a higher ceiling. So it's changed a little bit. But that's what needs to happen at Mississippi State. We need to go out and recruit and find young men from around our recruiting footprint, get them into our program, invest in them, develop them, and then have them kind of carry the banner for Mississippi State going forward. That is so incredibly important for the longevity and the promotion of Mississippi State football. And I think we've got some guys this year that are going to be drafted, and we'll add to that number next year. And of course you'll have some guys eventually that'll retire, but you see Darius Slay out there, man, with 12 years in, a lot of people are still talking about him. He's at the top of his game. And so that's important to understand too. The longer these guys play, the more common they become in conversations about National Football League. And we've had some household names around the country, and people know that, hey, Dak Prescott went to Mississippi State. Fletcher Cox went to Mississippi State. And then, of course, I know the first NFL games, people, hey, well, they mentioned their preschool, so why not us? I get that aspect of it. But at the end of the day, every place they've been has played a part in their journey. And so it's their decision. I'd love for them to claim Mississippi State and put that out there, but it doesn't always mean anything's bad. Like Fletcher Cox did it in memory of a high school coach. Yeah, and people were critical, of Fletch, and they shouldn't have been. That guy loves Mississippi State, and we love having him back when he's around. And maybe now that he's in retirement, we'll see him a little more often. Every time I see him on social media, though, it's like he's going to the beach somewhere with he and his lovely wife. And so our girlfriend, I'm not sure how he characterizes her, but, it's good to see Fletch and those guys that came to Mississippi State with a dream and to see that dream be realized. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Now, if you're looking to bring a large group of fans or friends or family to town, whether it's a ball game weekend or not, look no further than the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. I would encourage you to, for you midweek travelers, like if you're coming to work in the Golden Triangle area, maybe you're working on campus, maybe you just got a crew up here, and you got to go see some clients, and you need everybody kind of under one roof. Instead of going out and getting 5 hotel rooms, consider staying in the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. It's a good financial decision, and it's good to have everybody around because you never know when Dave is going to sneak off and go have a nap, right? Everybody's right there together. Full-service kitchen. You can cook right there. The wet bar is there, that great back porch area. You can sit out there and even have your meal as things begin to kind of cool down and maybe go congregate around that fire pit. Just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. Incredibly convenient, but also, too, kind of tucked away in a very, very quiet place where you can go get some peace and quiet, and you and your guests can just kind of relax and enjoy being together. So whether it's a couples weekend, a family weekend, a college roommates weekend, whatever it is, the Stark Vegas Clubhouse can help you. Now, Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse, and their Facebook page will auto-populate, and you have the opportunity to kind of peruse the pictures of those fine amenities, right? And you can see what's available to you and your guest. In addition to that, there's going to be some booking options that pop up. You're going to have Airbnb, you're going to have VRBO. But if you want to save some money, I can help you with that. Book through the Evolve website and use promo code BSR10. BSR10 gets you 10% off your stay. And how cool is that? Just by listening to this show, you can save some money. Super cool. Always happy to help you guys and happy to partner with the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. All right, final segment. We got some college football coming up, and I promised that we would look at it a little bit. One of the things that I've learned, too, sometimes I wonder why we just can't make it easy, to put, just Google college football schedule. I was looking for the scores the other day. It took a while. It really did. It took a while to kind of find that. But we have some college football Thursday evening. So by the time we get together again, some other games will have been played. And there are a ton of games. A ton. So I don't know what suits your fancy, but you're going to have the opportunity to watch a ton of games. It's kind of looking at games that may be of some reasonable note. Western Carolina's at NC State. NC A&T's at Wake Forest. Jackson State's at UL Monroe. That could be an interesting game. Could it not be? Could be. Arkansas Pine Bluff is at Arkansas, and we're going to take the Hogs there. And, Yeah, hot take, right, Steve? That's going to be on ESPNU. So if you want to get your first look at the 2024 Arkansas Razorbacks, you can do that on Thursday night. The game is going to be played at War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. They're taking that game off campus. And I suspect it'll be reasonably well attended. But Thursday evening games away from campus aren't always the best. But the Little Rock is a town that's got some decent population. The Hogs are favored by 48.5 in this game. Maybe they don't cover. Maybe you take the win but not the cover. But, we'll see. It's a new-look Arkansas offense. We'll see how things kind of play out, but that'll be interesting. If you want to do some advanced scouting of your own, Duquesne's is going to be at Toledo, Mississippi State's third-week opponent. That's going to be at the Glass Bowl in Toledo. Rockets favored by 27 in the game. I suspect they'll win. That'll be an ESPN Plus thing. A lot of people are already asking, is our game televised? Every college football game in the SEC is televised. Every game. Now, you may have to stream it through the ESPN app or through ESPN Plus, but you can watch it. The same for these other games. Murray State at Mizzou, another opponent for Mississippi State. That's going to be on the SEC network. Now, Murray State, you may not know this, but our friend Jody Wright, former Bulldog assistant coach, former Bulldog football staffer, now the head coach at Murray State, they're 46.5-point dogs on the road at Como. I don't give the Racers much chance in this ball game, but I'm rooting for Jody and rooting for the Racers. So that'll be interesting. Now, a little more maybe interesting game, North Carolina at Minnesota. I'm a huge Heather Fleck fan, like her best. She's my favorite Fleck. But that could be an interesting game, too, if you want to watch that. And, of course, there's the primetime game on ESPN, North Dakota State at Colorado. That could be a lot of fun, too. But, again, a ton of football. And then we get into Friday. Not a lot of games of Mississippi State note, but there are some notable names that are playing. We're going to see Oklahoma, now a member of the Southeastern Conference, open their season on Friday at 6 p.m. FAU is at Michigan State. And then TCU's at Stanford. That's going to be a late game on Friday night. You get home from watching high school football, you can pop that on. TCU at Stanford could be very entertaining. The Horned Frogs are actually favored on the road by 9.5. And then you get into Saturday, and it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So we'll preview for Saturday's games on Friday, and it should be outside of one or two games. I suspect everything will go to script. The chalk will likely hold. But again, if you want to watch some SEC football, you can do so on Thursday evening. Super cool. My last plea here, a couple things that I want to tell you too. Cowbell Yell is now open to the public. It used to only be a student thing. You can now attend that. So if you're coming to town, I would encourage you to maybe go experience that. I've been. It's a lot of fun. It truly is. And they work on singing the fight song and all that kind of stuff while they're there. So not only is it entertaining, it's also educational. Maybe we should make that a lab. That's part of it, too. Now, also, too, and we'll touch on some of this on Friday, the things have changed a little bit on campus. As I've mentioned, that they have some streets they blocked off in the past. There's a couple of them just kind of covered up. But Boss Street Extension is finished. And it's going to take a little getting used to. Now, they also have some speed bumps out there, and if you're not careful, you could hurt yourself or hurt your vehicle. So make sure you obey the speed limit and ensure that you observe those speed bumps, because when we were covering media during move-in weekend here a couple weekends ago, we're out there speaking with Jeff Levy, I saw a couple of students driving down Boss Street Extension, and they didn't pay attention, and they hit that speed bump, and I won't say they went airborne, but it was a bumpy landing. Let's just say that on the backside of that speed bump. So that's important to understand. Now, if you're an RV person that normally parks across from the hump and next to the Griffiths Ballroom, they're attached to the Palmero Center. They have blacktopped all of that. And that's something that needed to be done a long time ago, and I'm so glad they've done that. So you're going to have a much nicer place to play. You're going to have an opportunity now to kind of get out there and do some things, And And in the past, you've had to park there, and that lot has not always been in the best of physical conditions. Well, they have remedied that. And so you're going to pull in there and you're going to say, hey, look how nice this is. And it does look really nice. It truly does. And there's been a lot of construction around campus and some things around town as well. Now, here's one of the things, too. Right there by True Rest Float Spa of Starkville, across from Strange Brew, next to Little Caesars there. On the way, people used to pick that right to get to Blackjack Road. They have expanded that intersection a little bit. It used to be a little congested there at times because we have so many students that live off Blackjack. They have done a lot of work there. It's a lot nicer, and I think things flow a lot better now, kind of getting to campus. So if you're entering campus on Highway 12, once you get to that intersection, and shout out to Strange Brew, it's going to look different, but it's going to flow better. And so things like that are important to understand. And I think it's always important to make sure that you know where you're going. Because, again, things have changed a little bit. So your normal thoroughfares may have changed a little bit since you were here last. And wives, girlfriends, please listen to me. Please listen to me. Let's try to make sure that he leaves an hour early. You know how he gets. You know it. He gets all anxious, and he's ready to get there, and gets impatient, starts driving fast and taking chances. Let's leave an hour early. And a lot of that's going to depend on you. I don't want to put the burden on your shoulders. But let's encourage him to leave early. It's like, hey, babe, why don't we leave early? I want to stop and get this. And then you just run in like the Love's truck stop and get something of insignificance. But you just want to get on the road as soon as possible. You're not in mid-game season form yet. And so it's important for everybody to understand, give themselves a little more time as you navigate around campus, because, again, these event management people are great people. They truly are. And so many of them have been here for many years. Some of you know their faces, if not their names, and they have become synonymous with the Mississippi State hospitality experience. But a lot of these people don't know anything beyond their own sections, right? This is where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to watch this lot, check for this pass, keep this barricade up. And so they're not going to be the best at giving you directions on where to go, right? They don't live on campus. And I would love if everybody was, completely aware of what everything needed to do. So don't expect them, because every time it happens, even when I go to campus, inevitably I get behind somebody that doesn't know where they're going. And so they just kind of get on campus and like, hey, where is lot 2? Well, there's a map at hellstate.com for game day. You can kind of see where and how to navigate to your lot. And there are other people that just kind of get here and try to figure it out. And so let's all work together here and ensure that we have a great game day experience. And there's a couple of things. Of course, we got the DJ and things like that, but there's not a lot of changes in that respect, and there will be kind of moving forward. But I think, when you think about the infrastructure and the construction around campus, it's so incredibly important that even though, hey, this is the way we've always gone, may not be the way you go in the future. So take a few minutes to look at that game day map and kind of see, hey, what's changed here, what's happened there. A lot of things are a little bit different. And especially kind of navigating around. And it's pretty cool, too, that they've already started striping off the junction for the game day tents and things like that. So preparations are being made for your arrival. And I can tell you on behalf of everybody here in Starkville and everybody here involved with Mississippi State Athletics, we cannot wait for you to get here. And there are a lot of things that have been done that they've kind of put some pressure on people to make sure these things are done well ahead of game week. And so some people, local contractors and people that maybe you don't know their names, but you've seen their work, have worked exceptionally hard to ensure that campus looks great and is functional for you when you arrive. And so please buy tickets, come be a part of all this. And we're going to cut the show short early today because I've got to get going. I've got to run down to Central Mississippi and then get back. And we have a lot going on these days, kind of finishing up some things because once we get into the grinder of football season, you know how it is. You know how it is. And so, again, let me encourage you, come be a part of it. Be a part of the moment, right? And I can promise you, most of my favorite memories don't involve a TV set. I've watched some great games on TV, but how many times do you hear about it? Hey, man, do you remember that great game in 2014? And immediately, like someone said, I was there. I was there. There's nothing like being there. And just something about those games, when you're there to witness it in person, they just mean a little more to you. I mean, how many times do you hear some of these silver-haired dogs that we all love so much? I mean, they have paved the way for everything we enjoy today. And so, Steve, we didn't have TV back in our day. We had to go to all these games, and I saw Shorty McWilliams play, and I saw this person play, and I saw Harper Davis play, and I listen in awe when I talk to those folks. And I had a chance to meet with Charlie Weatherly. That's Mississippi State Hall of Famer, Charlie Weatherly, and kind of give him some information about the forthcoming book, The Dude, and some stories he didn't even know. And I thought, man, this book is maybe better than I thought, when Charlie Weatherly's never heard some of these stories. And they're documented, just not widely circulated. And so looking forward to that. If you hadn't done so, go to DutyNobleBook.com and you can pre-order The Dude. It's going to be nominated for some awards, already has been, even though it hadn't been released yet. Yeah. Manuscript's already been forwarded to some committees out there. So maybe we win something. How about that? But at the end of the day, I've already won by writing the book, because I've learned so much about our history, and I'm eager to share it with all of you. Let me encourage you, too, if you're going to come float, a lot of our out-of-towners have said, hey, Steve, I'd love to support you guys, but can't be a member, don't want to buy a membership, and I don't know how often I'm going to use it. If you're planning to come try it and just to support us or to enjoy the experience, and that's really the better part of that, call 662-268-7601. And it's been a very busy week, and we're starting to get a lot of calls about this weekend. So if you want to float, we have 4 pods, and we float several times a day. The floats last an hour, and it's the only time that my mind is ever quiet, is to get in there and float. I wanted to float this week. I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. But I think it's something that perhaps you've never enjoyed before, and it has been a game changer for me. Not just for the chronic pain, because I'm getting older, but with the anxiety, and it's improved the quality of my sleep. And the very first time I floated, I bought a franchise. I thought, I want my friends and neighbors to be able to enjoy this. And I invite you, I cordially invite you to come be a part of this, because there's no point in you laying around hurting. There's no point in you laying around and can't sleep at night, because your mind won't stop. When I float, the quality of my sleep improves for about a week or so, maybe about 8 or 9 days. I got to go float again. So I try to float about once a week, and I need to get on a regular schedule, but sometimes that's difficult for me. But I encourage you to come float, whether you've got chronic pain, you've got anxiety, depression, PTSD. We have a lot of military personnel that come over from the air base over in Columbus. We may be able to help you. I mean, I make no guarantees in life, but it's kind of like delivering flowers, because everybody leaves happy and refreshed. You know what I'm saying? I've worked in retail before, and people are like, I'm disappointed with this, and I didn't like this. It's so cool for people to walk out of there, they look at you, and it's just like, I mean, how many times do we actually take time for ourselves? We talk about it all the time. We sit in our beds, we're scrolling through our phone, the TV's on, and even in our, quote, time to ourselves, we're still overstimulated. And so come be a part of this. You'll be glad you did. It's super cool. And I've had some people say, Steve, I may feel a little bit claustrophobic. Well, leave the pod doors open, right? You control that. Steve, I'm kind of afraid of the dark. Okay, cool. Leave the light on. There's an overhead light that's going to go off when you get in and stop moving. But there's a light inside the pod too that it can be kind of soothing. I float with the pod doors closed and the lights off, and I get in there and I close my eyes, and it's almost like a download, like from the higher power, right? I get in there and I just absolutely relax and take time to myself and give my mind a chance to rest. And it's like all of a sudden, like it all opens up for me. It's like I think about all these things. Oh yeah, I can do that. I can do this. And it's great. And so come be a part of that. Again, 662-268-7601, or you can download the True Rest app and you can book online. But if you have questions, please give Dan a call. Again, 662-268-7601. I think it would add some value to your life. But again, plenty of tickets available this weekend. Come be a part of the great experience as we usher in the Jeff Levy era. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.